think we're live. I hope we're live. Let me know in the chat if the mic quality is good, and then we'll do our usual tests because who knows what's going to happen. Life can get crazy sometimes, ruining your streams and whatnot. All right. Hyako says we're good with the mic. AJ Beats says hello. I say hi right back. Loud and clear. Groutmeister General's in here. He just wrote his SATs this week. So let's say congratulations to Grout for getting that out of the way. I'm going to quickly play this beat right here. Let's do a quick little audio test. I am assuming it's going to be good. Let me know in the chat once again if we are good on that front as well, and we'll get this party started. Van Chosen is up in here. So what's his name? Cass Wilson? Savs. Hyako says it sounds fine. All right. This is a smooth sailing today. We're going to do a nice calm little afternoon stream. Over here it's nearing noon. Yeah, I'll probably go for 2 hours as usual. And for the people that are here for the first time, instructions are right above my head. I'm going to say a keyword. You're going to send your beat to the email with the keyword as a subject line. Include your Discord name if you want a shout out in the Discord so I can drop it in there. And AR makes beats. I'm explaining that as we speak. And if you want, I don't know, throw in a question in there. I'll do some Q&A. Let me know if you need some life advice. If you want some instructions on how to shave, maybe I can quickly do a tutorial on how to shave. Speakers work fine. We won't deal with the direct audio anymore. Indeed, man. Forget that. All right, so let's let me know how your Halloween was, guys. If you had a spooky Halloween, or if you're extremely religious and believe that it's for Satanists, let me know in the chat. I didn't do anything for Halloween, unfortunately. I would have liked to watch a scary movie of some sort. I never watched The Exorcist. I think I might be too scared to watch it. But normally movies don't scare me. Favorite movie that's scary of all time? It might be Midsommar or Hereditary, one of those Ari Aster movies. What are you guys saying? Let me know in the chat. Scariest movie. Is it The Exorcist? Should I watch it? Will I soil myself? Groutmeister General says he didn't do anything either. I guess with COVID and whatnot, it's not going to happen. Why can't witches have babies? Because their husbands have Halloweenies. That's terrible. That's a terrible joke. I apologize for everyone that I said that on my stream. Mulholland Drive, that's a horror movie? All right, the first Vaudeville Beats is asking what the first keyword is. I just realized I didn't even say the keyword. So the first keyword, I'm sorry to see that you are sick, my friend. The first keyword is, we'll do Squidward, the famous character from SpongeBob, everyone's favorite Squidward, spelled Squid, W-A-R-D. Send it to the email above, put the subject line Squidward, and we'll have some fun here, guys. We'll start off with a Discord review here while you guys get your emails in. We had a decent amount of submissions here. Whoa, okay. Let's go with someone I haven't heard from before or in a long time. Here, Polar Boy 777. Melodic trap beat, Tranquilo by Polar Lenny. Let's take a listen. You guys can join in the fun. Let me know in the chats what you guys think of these beats. Drop a clarinet type beat. He does play the clarinet. I'm from South Africa. We got real witches and wizards here. Jesus, that sounds terrifying. All right, let's listen to this beat. Let me know what you guys think about this beat as I review it as well.
Hello, Lenny.
Wait. Are you guys saying it's being picked up through the speakers now? It's being played through speakers. It's not direct audio? Because I just tested it right before. And 808's quiet. What are you guys saying here? Because I just tested the stream out right before and it was getting picked up directly. I'm not sure why it wouldn't be now. Oh God, what's happening here? You guys are arguing about melody here. Ooh. I gotta roll up for the stream, ain't glitching and going all ASIO for all on me. So what does that mean? I don't know what's happening. Someone please answer in the chat. Is it direct audio again? Nah, since the beginning and last stream was through speakers. Wait, the last stream was through the speakers as well? What the heck? Yeah, my mic is capturing your speakers. That's the only audio we're getting. What? Let me go back here. Let me quickly do a test here. I'm gonna mute my mic. Let me know what happens here. Was it playing there or was it complete silence? It comes through now. Now it's direct. Okay, so we're good now. The beat has room reverb. That's what makes it sound like that. It's direct. Okay, it might have been layered before. That's what I'm thinking. The mic was just picking it up as well as the thing. So let's do one last test. I'm going to play this again. And if you guys hear the echoey reverb thing, wait, when you cut mic, we get from computer. Okay. So I have to mute my mic every time then. So I'm going to play it one last time. Let me know if this is direct or picked up from the mic. Let me know there. It's only direct when you mute your mic. So let's do that last test. And if that's what's happening, I'll just mute my mic every time. It will happen for sure that I'm going to be a jackass and probably start talking without unmuting. It sounds layered now. Some people are saying layered, some people are saying direct. If the layered isn't like a huge, if it's not like disgusting, layered. All right, so it's basically both. I could sidechain. Oh, my hair is wacky. Guys, I look like a fool right now. Should I try to sidechain, guys? I'm going to get very crazy here. Oh, this thing doesn't even allow for sidechaining. All right, I'm going to mute my mic every time I play a new beat. I'm going to forget at least once and start talking into the mic that's muted. I will look like a complete buffoon, but that's fine. Actually, this thing has an on-off switch. I wonder what would happen if I click it off. And then when I click it on, it works again. So maybe I'll just use the on-off button here. That's much better. So we'll start off with the email beats. Let me know right now if you guys can actually hear my voice. Maybe keybind mute mic. See, that sounds like a good idea for an intelligent person, but since I am a buffoon, I probably won't be able to figure out how to do that on the fly. All right, whatever. Let's get going with the email beats. We got some Squidward beats going on in here. Let's take a listen to this first beat here. Jester Productions. He's got this beat called Clavish, UK rap style beat. We got some UK music here. Here we go. right, that was Jester Productions. You guys are saying there's interference from the mic. My mic was literally turned off, so I don't know what's going on. Kemi's in here. He failed all of his classes, so everyone in the chat, please shame him and tell him to study better because he's failing, and me and his parents have been talking and we're very concerned about his performance in school. The hardware is switched off, so interference from the wires and other circuitry might come through. Maybe I'll just mute in the software in that case. We'll give that a shot for the next beat. As for the review itself, there was a very strange, I don't know what was up with the mix for this beat, but like the 808s were panned, the kicks were panned hard, the drums were like, there's a lot of panning in this beat. I'm not sure why. Typically speaking, your drums, your low end, your 808, your bass line, whatever it may be, those things should be a little bit more centered, and your instrumentation are the things that should be taking up spaces on the side as well as the middle as well. I'm not sure what happened with this mix, but it was sort of hard. The sounds that shouldn't have been panned, sorry, they were panned for some reason. So that was very distracting. The idea for the beat itself, I actually liked it. Cool instrumentation. I like those sort of little textures and like the sort of gliding pad that you had throughout the beat. You had some cool sounds in here. I really like that. But the mixing itself sort of really threw me off, as well as the structuring of the beat as well. The intro was like a minute long, and there was like a section in the middle of the beat and towards the end as well where nothing was really happening as the exact same melody playing, but there was just like a minimal amount of drums. So that was kind of that kind of ruined the beat a little bit. I think if you're gonna have like a minimalist type of area that shouldn't last for like, I think it was like 8 bars or something, that might have been your hook. And if that was the case, I would implore you to try to add more and make your hooks bigger instead of just doing the same thing of dropping all your drums and having the exact same loop play, because as people said in the chat, it did get a little samey after a while. So the main conceit, that sort of core idea of this beat, I really liked, but I guess the execution of all of the things around the core idea, when it comes to the drums, there was like hard panning, which is strange. The structuring of the beat overall, it was left me wanting. So I would say cool idea, just the execution of all the other elements wasn't quite there. What do you guys see in here? As for the submissions of the beats, I'm gonna do this. Typically what I'm gonna start doing is like the first, we'll say 1 or 2 people will get their beats heard, and then after that it'll go randomly. I think that is gonna make people happy. As for the order of the submissions, I probably won't bother showing it. No real reason why. I don't know. Let's listen to this next beat here. So this time we are going to do a muting in the actual software itself. So let's see if we run into some interference here. Hopefully not. Let me know in the chats what you guys think of this beat as well. So let's give her.
Purchase your tracks today.
All right, that was Betrayal by Ilyah, Ilyah. He did not leave his Discord name in the thing. So was the mic there good? Let's get that out of the way first. As Groud said, yeah, vocal samples and the beat are fine, but like a complete song with rapping and singing over it, I'm more interested in reviewing production itself. So I'm not really. It's gonna be harder for me to do so if there's singing on top. The halftime switch up was cool, says Rich Hunter. Not a fan of the snare, says Ian. Mic was clean, which is nice. Good to see that. People like the halftime. I like the hi-hats, says Ian. So in terms of my review, I really like the idea. It was a very minimal and aggressive beat, which is right up my alley. I really like the textures that were used in this beat, from the actual main lead itself, the synth, as well as the smaller little sounds that you had in the beat with the vocal sample, as well as like the shuffling hi-hat that you had there with like the panning effect and whatnot. Those are sort of really cool ideas. I will say though that melodically what you came up with is very simple, which inherently isn't a bad thing at all. That's exactly how you create a little bit more of an aggressive beat. It was a very short repeating loop, which again is fine. That's exactly what is needs to be done if you want to make a very aggressive type of beat. That really does lend itself to that aesthetic. I will say though that some variation melodically is needed if you go down that route. So if I make like a very hard beat like this, I know that the listener is probably going to get somewhat bored of hearing the exact same melody over and over again. And you did have that halftime switch up that really did work well. I really like that, but that was like towards the end of the beat. There was a section in the beat here. This is probably going to have a little bit of an echo, but let me quickly just go through here. So in that section there, it sounds like you took the synth and you pitched it down an octave, which is great. I think you had a huge opportunity here where you dropped all your drums, and so you had a lot of space. So what you could have done there is been a lot more melodical with your bass line at that point and come up with a sort of nice switch up there where you introduced a lot more of a melodic feel to that section of the beat, and then you go right back into the verse where it's just hard-hitting, very a musical, very monotone, which again is not a bad thing, but you do need to introduce some pockets in the beat where it does have a little bit of switch up, a little bit of melody, just so the listener doesn't get bored hearing the exact same notes play over and over and over again. In that section there, you just had that one bass note hit over and over again, so that would have been a nice place to introduce like a nice sliding synth line that's like a nice sliding like bass line or something. That would have been a cool idea. And yeah, as Grout says, drop a like, guys, if you're enjoying yourselves. So yeah, that's my beat. I really love the core idea of it. I like the textures that you used. I just think that a little bit of opportunity was missed in terms of introducing a little bit more of a melodic component into the beat. And as well as some people said, the low end mix was kind of iffy. The kick came in really hot, but the 808 didn't really have much balls to it, I guess, to put it bluntly. So rebalancing that's going to be a little bit easier, but I do really think that introducing some melodic variation in your beat, or even just briefly switching up that main loop for like a bridge, that could have been good as well. Just figuring out some way to make sure you don't have that same short loop repeating over and over again, because that can get very repetitive really quickly. A Reese or something, yeah. So that's something that I love to use as well, like a Reese bass and then peel back the really high pitch frequencies. That would have been a cool idea. Pitts Productions in here. Keyword in 7 minutes. We're still on the Squidward beats. We've only done 2 of them because I've been yapping this whole time, because we're trying to get these issues sorted. Next up, we'll listen to Captain Nemo here. He's got a Discord here. Nemo has dropped this beat, and it's a Tyler the Creator type beat. I don't think I've seen someone do that in a while. We'll put Captain Nemo's YouTube. What the? I accidentally just copy and pasted something I shouldn't have. Paste. Tyler the Creator, Igor type beat, Pistache. All right, that was Captain Nemo. His beat Pastiche. Really cool idea. I like how audacious you were with this beat idea. Obviously, a lot of the beats that I hear is going to be a little bit more typical of, falls in the category of like lo-fi, trap. This is almost like a genre of its own where it's like almost a complete song just because there's so much variation in it. Just like Tyler the Creator does, he has like a lot of lush instrumentation. And there's a lot of like varied sounds where you have some acoustic sounds like the piano that you had, as well as a combination of the more synthetic sounds like the sort of synthy bass line that you had. It creates a cool juxtaposition. So yeah, it's a really audacious idea and I applaud you for that. I really like when people get out of the box and try to do something different like you did here. Not only that, structurally, it was really out of the box as well. It wasn't just like a straightforward, here's the verse section, here's the hook section. Again, you tried to be a little bit more out there and try to push yourself and push the song to almost feel like a song within itself. I honestly don't have much to say in terms of things that stood out to me as negatives. I applaud you for pushing it. Some people said that the snares are offset and not out of tempo, says Karasama. Some people are saying unquantized. I don't think it was unquantized. It was just an irregular drum pattern. It was not the typical snare on the 2 and the 4. You tried to do something a little bit different here, which was cool. I think one thing that I probably would have done to maybe have the beat feel a little bit more lively, the velocity of the kick as well as the hi-hat that you layered on top of it, it was very much consistent throughout, I probably would have played with the velocity of both. So you had a pattern where it was a kick, 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 kick. I think having that kick right before the kick, like the kick and then kick, kick, that second one there that plays right before the third kick there, I would have probably brought the velocity of that down, and as well play around with the hi-hat velocity on top of those layers as well, just to create a little bit more of a live rhythm, just because it was at a constant rhythm. And for Tyler's beats, I feel like a lot of his aesthetic is trying to get a more lively feel, and I think that would have helped. But overall, it's a great beat, so good job on that front, man. What are you guys saying? Are you guys horsing around in the chat? Pretty shifted drums, but good drum fill. That was a good drum fill, now that you mention it. And yeah, the drum pattern itself was just something a little bit different than the typical drum pattern that you hear. It wasn't necessarily that he cranked swing all the way up or anything. It was just meant to be irregular from the sounds of it. Kemi's saying his stream is delayed. That's what you get, young man. If you don't study, the internet will be throttled. Me and your parents discussed that we're going to throttle your internet, so it's not going to be up to date. It's a 50-50 if you send me a WAV file. Yeah, sometimes they take forever to load, but I prefer some streaming service. Last Squidward beat, and then we'll move on to the next keyword. We will do this little beat here from this little rascal named Lil Adam. I don't think I've ever heard any of his beats. So he's got this beat here called Paranoia 184. He's playing a dangerous game here because in the description it says guitar flute. And for the people that have been on my stream before, I was playing a dicey game because I really like out there textures. I like cool inventive ideas, and what's not really inventive right now, I would say, is guitar type beats. Flute type beats are all over the fucking place. Nonetheless, I will listen to this and give it a little bit of a criticism. So let's go. All right, I'm going to stop this beat here. I feel like we know what we're getting. Yeah, this was sort of what I was alluding to here. Lil Adam, I apologize if this is going to hurt your feelings. Maybe it's your first time here. It's just my own personal taste. I don't really go for... Did I turn my mic on? Did I forget? Yeah, it is on. I just don't really go for these types of beats. As a lot of people in the chat said, the beat did feel a little bit empty. One person mentioned that the flute portion was a little bit forced. It didn't really work well with the with what you had with the other components in the beat. The beat sort of felt empty as well. The guitar wasn't enough to fill the space. Your drums were very small sounding in the beat. They didn't really sit up front. They were very secondary sounding. So overall, the balance of the beat was really focused on the guitar, and it just wasn't enough to carry the beat. Maybe adding some effects on top, and that would have helped. Also, yeah, some people said it was somewhat repetitive. It's hard to judge just because this might be one of your first beats you've ever made. And if that's the case, honestly, you're doing a lot better than I have. So don't be too hard on yourself if like you've only been making beats for a few months, because this would be really good for a few months. Nonetheless, I would say try to be a little bit outside of the box. If you make beats that sound like exactly what everyone else is doing, there's no reason for them to come to you for that type of beat unless you're a cheaper option. And at that point, you're playing a game of who can race to the bottom and offer the cheapest beats, which is nothing that you ever want to do. So I would recommend you get a little bit outside the box and try to push yourself. But again, if this is your first few beats you've ever made, you're on the right track. So it's just hard to really gauge what to say here. Grout mentioned, what if it was a psychedelic type of guitar? That would be rad. You guys know exactly what I mean with these types of guitar types beats like this. Just very like melancholy, very like acoustic guitar. I'm not really for that. But if you do something crazy and out there like with your guitar type beats, that would be awesome. Someone else mentioned that I should probably upgrade my mic once I hit 25K. I think that's probably a good idea. Tax season is almost over, so maybe I should just start spending a lot of money. I also probably do need to get a new video. I just record all my videos with my phone, so that's probably not a good idea. Maybe I'll get a new camera as well. I don't know, guys. Shopping spree might be coming up. Black Friday's coming up soon, true enough. All right, so let's go back to the Discord for another beat, and we will start off the next keyword. As I mentioned, someone in the chat said that they got skipped. It's a process of random. Basically, I'm going to listen to the first couple beats that get submitted for a keyword just to reward the people that submit really quickly, for the people that are paying attention. And beyond that, I'm going to get very random just so, yeah, just because why not? Fuckboy says the mic sounds fine. That's nice to hear. I don't approve of your name. That's very naughty. But nonetheless, thank you for the kind words. Where do I send my eats? Says C Boom Beats. Into your mouth, I would say. All right, next, yeah, we're going to the Discord. The next keyword is going to be SpongeBob now. Let's do SpongeBob. There you go. We're going to do the whole cast today, maybe. Or maybe not. So if you try to choose Patrick next, maybe I won't select Patrick. Next keyword is SpongeBob. And let's listen to another beat here from someone else I haven't heard of. King Swisser. I don't think I've ever seen his beats in here. He's got this free for profit beat, Aneurysm. Chapter 2 of the beat, Slow Leak, and named after my recent ailment. He had an aneurysm? I hope you're doing all right, my friend. But anyways, let's listen to this beat. do a smooth little fade out there. Some of you guys in the chat are getting ornery about this beat. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you guys said in the chat that I will echo because I agree. Oh, we're at 73 likes already. Guys, hit the like button if you're enjoying yourselves here. Let's set a new record, a world record for most likes on a video. I think we can get to like 1 million probably. All right, so for the beat here, as a lot of people said, there's like a cool idea in this beat somewhere. It just wasn't really brought out due to the strange arrangement as well as some other elements in the beat. So it's a very like atonal dark type of loop that he created here, which it was a really cool idea. He did a good job of guiding the melody using the other melodic component in the beat, which would be the 808. He had like a very strange loop, but we still had a good idea of what the melody of it should have been using as he used the other element in the beat. But the other elements beside those were kind of strange. The drum pattern was kind of weird. As I mentioned a lot of times, when you first start out, you're probably going to be best. Did I turn my mic on? I did. You're probably going to be best putting your snare on the 2 and the 4, being very straightforward with your hi-hat, not getting too wild and wacky. And in my opinion, this is sort of the reason why you don't want to get too audacious, especially when you first start out. You're just going to put snares wherever you want just because it's a little bit experimental and weird. You're going to get a little crazy and out there with like some spastic hi-hats like he had here. And it just sort of doesn't really mesh together. Like the rhythm was kind of strange throughout the entire beat, as a lot of people said. And I will also say, as a whole, there's almost like a strange arrangement to this beat as well, where it never felt like I could really catch on to what I should have been feeling at any particular moment in time, just because there's so many sections that were so different throughout the beat. So yeah, like I think what a lot of people said in the chat is true, where like there was this core idea somewhere down below in here, a sort of main loop that I would have just focused on. But instead, a lot of the things that were built around that core loop just took a left turn when it should have taken a right turn, for example. Like just a small wrong decision compounded throughout the entire beat really led this beat astray. I think just being a little bit more typical, a little bit more straightforward with the beat, and not getting as audacious with some of the more structural things in this beat would have been a good idea. In my mind, the way I view drums and some of the more straightforward components of a beat is it should provide structure in your beat. And the way you get audacious and out there are with some of the other elements in your beat. As soon as you start playing around with every single component of your beat and you have every single thing in your beat sound out there and crazy, that's when you're going to start really having a hard time getting people to get on board with understanding what you're trying to go for, just because there's no context at that point. This is something that I talk about in a video that I will be releasing in November. We have a lot of good videos coming out in November. I'm excited for November. I made this video that literally took me like 4 days to make. Probably more than that, actually 5 days. Most videos will take a fraction of that. I'm pretty sure it's not going to get many views at all, just because it's such a strange out there idea. But I think it's a video unlike anything you've ever seen in the beat making space. I haven't seen any beat making video do something like this. So we'll see how that goes. And I also have some good, just straightforward tutorial stuff as well. Some fun, wacky videos. It's going to be a fun month, I say. Hopefully I don't get shadow banned. That's always a possibility. All right, so we did that beat. We will move on to the SpongeBob beats now. Hopefully you go. Oh, someone wrote in Sandy. Someone wrote in Gary. That's a big no-no there. I like Gary though. Gary's a cool guy. All right, so let's start off with the first SpongeBob beat, which is by Salako. Oh, he's got a sexy little image here for his YouTube thumbnail. His beat here is called Honey. It's a UK drill type beat. So let me write his name down and we will get right into this review. Here we go.
Salaco, you're cold, you know.
I'm just gonna bring it down now. It's hard to review this beat just because the mix is just so off. Yeah, the sample was just way too low. The instruments were just way too low. The drums were very high in comparison. They might have been fine if all the other levels were in the same little wheelhouse almost. Yeah, I think first and foremost, if this producer is here, I would say fix that mix, bring up those instruments, the vocal sample, everything, and really figure out, as well as the 808, that was like really quiet and it was really hard to hear what it was even doing throughout the entire beat. Yeah, I think changing the mix up and really trying to bring out what makes this beat its own unique thing is going to be really important, just because all I heard throughout the entire beat was just drill drums and like a faint sample that I was just not really hearing throughout the entire thing. Sorry says, was expecting the sample to open up a bit for a more fullness. Idea is good though. Yeah, it's really hard to gauge what the idea even was for me, just because the sample, the mix was just so off. I don't really know what they were going for. So unfortunately, I'm sorry, my friend Salaco. I'd like to hear what you have to, what types of beats you got, but I would need to hear them literally first. So we'll move on to Gibran Saval. He's got this beat here called I Took My Horse to the Wrong Neighborhood. Oh, he's in the Discord as well, so let's drop that in there. His name's Jabroni. Okay, let's take a listen to this beat and then we'll listen to some more. All right, that was the Jabroni man himself. He's in the chat. A lot of you guys are already saying a lot of things that I would have said. So he took the sample here, he looped it around and put his own drums on top, but that created some mixing issues. The 808 he used didn't really mesh well with the sample. It was very distorted. And because of that, there were just so many frequencies in this beat that were filled up. It almost felt like it had no space to breathe. And that's one of the hard things about sampling, to be honest. When you use such a dense sample like this, it was dense in terms of its instrumentation, in terms of its stereo field. It had some instruments on the hard left and hard right. It was just such a dense, huge sample. And I'm not sure whether it was just used as a loop straight up, but nonetheless, when you do that, like, there's just so little room for anything else that can get really, that's one of the difficulties of sampling. A lot of people think, it's just so straightforward where you can just throw a sample on, throw your drums on top, and there you go. And I think this beat is a showcase in terms of how difficult it can be at times to get everything to sit in a good space, and some of the things that you have to do with the sample itself to get it to sit in a good space. There were some other weird elements that I picked up on. The kick had like a stereo presence to it, which sort of threw me off. That was a little bit odd. But yeah, I think overall a lot of the people sort of echoed my sentiments, where the overall mix was just hard to get anything to actually shine through. I can't really imagine how a rapper would use this just because it's so dense, especially with the 808 being as distorted as it is. And I'm thinking that even if you did peel back on that 808 and you used a more transparent 808 that doesn't have as much presence in the higher frequencies, this beat still might come out sounding just so dense and cluttered, just because you might need to do some things to the sample itself here instead of just looping it. Like some people mentioned, you might need to chop it up so it isn't as, I guess, as dense as it is. Maybe take some of the more shallow parts of the sample and use that for the main part of the beat. Maybe play around with the stereo imaging of the sample, bring it to be a little bit more narrow so it doesn't take up as much space as it does. Maybe control which parts of the sample you want to pan instead of having some huge stereo presence throughout the entire beat. Low pass filtering, playing around with the equalizer as well, generally speaking. It's going to be tough to get this beat to sound as uncluttered as it is right now. So yeah, I think it's a cool attempt, but I think this really does showcase how difficult sampling can be at times. So yeah, I think I would like to hear more from this producer, like a follow-up to what they might try to do to fix this beat up, just because as it is right now, there's just a little bit too much going on in it. Dog Herbie says, I sent my beat to the email and it's not in the Discord yet. Yeah, I only put the ones that I play in the Discord. The Discord's meant for people who can't make it to the stream. Next up, we've got George Ukrainchenko. He's got this beat called Free Gangster Beat, End Game. So let's take a listen to this gangster beat and let me know in the comments what you guys think about this. Like the video, subscribe while you're at it, and we've got some good stuff coming out in November, so make sure you're tuned in, guys, because we're going to have a good few videos coming up. Here we go.
It's too late now.
All right, that was Georgie Boy, George Ukrainchenko. So this beat, I sort of like the conceit, the sort of idea of it. What he was going for was cool, but there are a lot of things that you guys said in the chat that the chat's been on point today. You guys and I are syncing up with a lot of our opinions. There's sort of like a flatness throughout the entire beat. The dynamics, just nothing really stood out, especially when that bass was hitting. I felt like the parts of the beat where there was no bass, I could really get a good sense of like the instruments starting to distinguish themselves from one another. But as soon as that dense bass hit, that sort of overwhelmed everything and brought like an overall flatness throughout the entire beat. I think that really suffocated the beat. It almost felt like the bigger and bigger the beat got, the more and more flat it became. There was a short little section in the beat where you didn't have much playing. That was probably like my favorite part of the beat, just because I felt like I could actually get a good sense of what the instruments were doing. But as soon as you added the drums as well as that dense bass, it really did start to feel like a level of flatness in the beat, just because, again, there's just a lot less dynamics at that point. I think the bass line just was hitting at a constant level that was just louder than everything else, to the point where it was hard to really distinguish anything. And as Grout said in the chat, I think sound selection could have been a little bit better. I probably, for this aesthetic of beat, the bass that you chose, I think it was just like a normal straightforward 808. I probably would have gone for like an acoustic type of bass that isn't as powerful in the low end. And I think that would have been like two birds with one stone, where you have a bass sound that is a little bit more fitting to this aesthetic that you're going for. And at the same time, you don't have a very dense low end presence. The bass that you're going to choose here is not going to be as boomy. And so that's going to help fix the dynamics problems as well. So that would have been a better choice in my opinion. So maybe try that out. And that also would have offered up a little bit more dynamics as well, just because an acoustic bass wouldn't be as constantly hard hitting as an 808 or the sub bass that you chose here. And the drums as well, I think the snare sort of worked, but the kick was a little bit transparent. It only had that punchiness in the low end. So maybe choosing more of a sort of dusty feeling kick as well as a snare might have, again, lended towards this aesthetic a little bit better. Because to me, it sounded like you're going for something a little bit more throwback, a little bit more boom bap type. And some of the elements that you chose in the beat didn't really lend itself to that aesthetic. Overall, though, cool core idea. I sort of did like what you're going for. It was like a dark, aggressive type of beat, but I think some of the smaller elements in terms of the sound selection would have helped you achieve that aesthetic a little bit better. Kemi saying, are you doing No Nut November? My life is no nut, man. Okay, we'll do one more SpongeBob beat, and then we'll... Wait, how long have you been doing SpongeBob beats? We've been going for an hour now, I think. So we'll do one more. Here we go. This is an interesting type of beat here. This guy says he's got a Ninth Wonder boom bap Kendrick Lamar type beat, Duckworth. His name's 27 Mad Beats. So, as Grout says, if you stop nutting, your drums hit harder. I did not know that. Okay, let's go. Let's listen to this beat here.
Mad Beats.
All right, that was 27 mad beats. People in the chat like that beat. Yeah, I think what you did there was spot on for the aesthetic you're going for. It was very Ninth Wonder-esque. The drums that you chose there fit the aesthetic perfectly. Can't remember what drum break that is. That isn't Skull Snaps, is it? I don't know. It had some nice variation with the sample. You sort of did that thing where you had like one chop, 2 2 2, 1 2 2 2. So you played the exact same chop back to back to back. And if you do that, it can be a little bit dangerous in that your beat can sound somewhat repetitive really quickly. But you did a good job of combating that by adding variation to the beat overall. In terms of like what the verse section sounded like, you constantly made switch ups, and the good thing is everything made sense musically, so that's something that can be tough for people when they try to chop up and rearrange a sample, whether or not it makes sense musically. I think you did a good job there. I think the one thing I would have to nitpick is that towards the end of the beat, you did have some nice interjections in terms of like adding a small little part of the sample to like quickly switch up one part of the loop, for example. That would have been welcomed a little bit earlier on in the beat as well. And you can do the exact same thing with your drum pattern. I don't recall hearing any variation with the drum pattern, so even just doing like a drum roll every once in a while, or changing up the drum pattern, just like a short little 1-bar switch up, dropping the drums here and there, those are other things that you can do to help the beat not sound as repetitive, just because, as a lot of people said in the chat, at some point it did get to feel like you knew what to expect. It was like the same thing over and over again, which, I mean, you did a good job in the sort of taking a step back in terms of like the meta of what the beat was doing. You did a good job of introducing variation, but you could have introduced a little bit more on a smaller scale with just like small little sample switch ups as well as small little drum switch ups. But again, that's just a smaller detail. I think the overall conceit of the beat was done very well. You knew the aesthetic you were going for, and I think you achieved it spot on. So good job to 27 mad beats. He says that he did switch the drums a little. Maybe I zoned out, and I apologize. But yeah, I think just maybe even more drastic drums changes would have been cool. Again, not like complete drum switch ups, but just like 1 bar. Maybe having the snare hit on an irregular measure or something. That would have been cool. I don't know. Okay, let's go back to the Discord and we will do the next keyword now. You guys thought it was going to be SpongeBob related. Huge mistake. I'm going to take this stream and do a complete 180 now. We're going to do another character. We're going to do, you know what? Let's do my favorite cartoon character of all time. Daffy Duck. That is going to be the stream's, or that's going to be the keyword for this submission. Daffy space Duck. Daffy. He's hilarious. I think I've modeled my entire life to be like him, and I think I'm successful. So let's listen to a Discord beat here by Yako, because he was here early. Good job to Yako. He's got this beat here called Swaggin'. Is my mic on? It is on. All right, so let's listen to Swaggin'. right, that was a Yakos beat Swagin. Grout says he likes the liquidy textures. Kemi says the switch up was dope. Karasama says didn't feel repetitive at any time. That's a dope thing. The liquidy sounds is filthy in the best ways. So what I'll say, in my opinion, is that there was the thing that sometimes happens where it sounded like during the verse section he had one part of the beat and he had the arrangement that he came up with, and then for that switch up he took a lot of the other same elements. I'm not sure whether he pitched it up an octave or whether he introduced completely new sounds that sort of did the exact same thing, but nonetheless there was a sort of imbalance, and that's something that some people said in the chat in terms of the mix needing work. The one section of the beat was very dark and didn't have much brightness to it, which inherently isn't a bad thing. It was a little bit lacking in the brightness at that point, but it wasn't like something that needed a huge overhaul. That can easily be fixed, but at the point of the switch up, that's exactly when a lot of those new sounds came in, and that's where a lot of the brightness came in. And to me, what stood out there was that there's just a huge imbalance in between these two sections, and that can be the difficult part when you do like a switch up like that, where you need I guess balance in terms of the overall frequency range of your beat, where this one really did feel somewhat disjointed between those two sections. And I think a big part of the reason why was because the frequencies weren't really balanced in between the two. I did like the idea of the switch up. That's always a cool idea. And the switch up itself, I really did like it. What you did with the beat, it sort of felt different in terms of its attitude. And I liked the direction that you took it. But in terms of the execution, in terms of how it sat in the beat and how it felt, it did have that disjointed feeling, and I think that's a really big reason why you do need like you need a little bit more consistency throughout the beat. And if you do the thing where you just pitch up all the instruments an octave, you're going to run into this problem where it's going to be a little bit imbalanced in terms of its frequencies. I got no idea what's happening in my chat, so let's keep going. How was the McChicken last week, by the way? Says Invader Jam. It was good. I got the spicy McChicken. That's a delicious little treat. Speaking of which, I haven't eaten lunch yet, and it's 1 p.m., so we'll go for a little bit more. And then I gotta eat again, man. Someone's still submitting SpongeBob beats. It's Daffy Duck now, man. Get with the times. We got Lars Fisher here. He's got his Daffy Duck beat. It's called 4 on the Beat Rain. I don't know what it's called. So let's take a listen. What are you guys in the chat saying? Are you having a sexy time right now? Because I know I am. You guys are talking about drum kits. So let's just go ahead and listen to this beat. I'm pretty sure it's the exact same thing over and over again. Before I move on, let me just read the comment in the beat section here on his SoundCloud. Hi, looking for hookup with a stranger, ready for any experiments. I'm completely naked, want to see photos. You want to see boobs? So I'm pretty sure Kemi will be interested in that, so let's send Kemi her away. I think he'll enjoy her company. Is he still here, or did he go and study? No, he's still here. As for the beat review, hard to even gauge what is happening with this beat. There's no bass line, there's no low end, there was just that kick. So I don't know what to make of the beat in terms of the instrumentation. It felt very incomplete, I would say. The rain sound really took up a lot of space in this beat, and it was almost used as a crutch almost. I'm sorry, Kemi, I should stop bullying him. He's a good boy, he just needs to study more. I'm gonna keep bullying you until you get your grades up. So yeah, the rain sound effect was almost used as a crutch to fill up a lot of space in the beat, and a lot of people said that the drums were really loud. It's just hard to gauge in contrast to that overpowering rain sound. Even though it's used as a texture, it's not actually an instrument. And so the synth probably sat a little bit further back than it needed to, just because that rain sound was taking up so much room. So yeah, it's hard to gauge what to say about this beat in terms of how it can be improved. I feel like those small textures like that in terms of the rain and whatnot, maybe add those at the end as a sort of aesthetic choice, and not as much as a sort of requirement for the beat to sound full. Maybe that's a good way of putting it, because I felt like as soon as you remove that rain sound, it would be very apparent that this beat is incomplete and it needs more. Whereas if you just shove in a sound like that, and make it so loud and so prominent that at that point it starts to fill up the beat, for someone like me, I can sort of easily catch that this beat needs more work. At the same time, though, I don't know, if this was like a background song to like I don't know, like a short film or something that's supposed to be sad, that might have made sense. But I'm just critiquing this on its own merits as a beat that an artist might want to use. There's just not enough done here in terms of the overall production to warrant it as a complete beat. So yeah, I think it needs more work in terms of more elements, more musical elements need to be introduced into this beat for it to make a little bit more sense. Gabby says, viewers keep coming. I think people really resonate with my bullying of Kemi, so let me know in the chat if you want me to bully him more. No, I shouldn't, guys. I don't want to be a mean boy. Let's move on to another Daffy Duck beat here. Where were we here? The next submission is from a guy named Suck Your Mom. I don't appreciate that one bit. I thought it was like a Japanese name or something, but it's SUKYOMUM. So let's put his name in the Discord. It's very disrespectful, but where am I? Oh. Suck Yo Mum. He's got this beat here called Nightfall. Let's take a listen. All right, that was Suckyo Mom's beat called Nightfall. Interesting beat here. I found what you guys said in the chat very interesting. Isaac keeps saying, "What's the line? What line? What's going on here?" So what I'll say is there is a cool choice of sounds in this beat. The textures that were chosen were a little bit more unique, which I liked. That's always something that I will award points for. Just that's a personal opinion of mine. I think some of the things that confused some of the people, a lot of the people in the chat, Crappy Gacha said the sample takes up a lot of room. I don't think the sample itself was the issue. I'm curious how this beat would have sounded without that dense choir in the background. I think that took up a lot of space, that the beat might have been a little bit better to be a little bit more open and have a little bit more space if that choir wasn't playing throughout the entire beat. And if it didn't, maybe going about filling up the beat in a little bit of a different way might have been a better idea, just because I just find a lot of the times when you introduce like a very dense choir or a pad or something that just a big thick chord in the back of your beat that's just constantly playing, it can really take up a lot of room in your beat. That can be very unsuspecting. That's something that I used to sort of struggle with. I'd throw in a pad in the background of the beat. I just felt like I don't know why this beat just doesn't feel like it's coming together, and a lot of the times it was just this huge sound that would just take up so much room, that would really throw off the beat. So maybe that might have helped. I think a lot of other people mentioned that the drum pattern itself was a little bit strange. You had just a very atypical drum pattern here, and that's obviously not a bad thing, but like I said, if you play around with it too much and you don't create a nice groove with the other, if you don't create a nice rhythm that works well with the other elements in the beat, it can be a little bit distracting. And I think that's what some of the people mentioned in the chat. I don't necessarily think it was a bad pattern overall. I do think a little bit of additional work might have helped that drum pattern work. I would have to tinker around with it personally to see what would work with that drum pattern, but maybe playing around with that and taking away the choir might have helped this beat overall. Nonetheless, though, really cool idea. I really like the aesthetic of the beat. The feel of it was really dark, and I mean the beat is called Nightfall, although you did miss the T in the title here. It just says Nightfall. It did really give me that vibe of just like a nice nighttime sort of cold type of beat, which I sort of liked. Again, the sound choice was really excellent. I really like the drum sounds that you chose. I just think some of the production decisions that were made in this beat might have held it back. So yeah, that's just my opinion. Too Late Now says, "Bless my world." I don't know what that means, but you've been blessed. There you go. Isaac's saying, "I have one of the highest producer beat critique stream likes." I think it's purposely begging people to like my stream, so maybe that's why I've been begging this entire time. So let's listen to another Daffy Duck beat. This one's gonna rock our world, guys. I can already feel it. I'm gonna choose which one's giving me good energy. When I look at the screen, what's popping out as really going into my prefrontal cortex and really bringing out the DMT sauce within my brain. That's what I'm trying to look for right now. This beat right here is gonna rock our world. He's got this beat here. His name is Dogher Beats. This beat here is called Hold On. It's a Pop Smoke, Sleepy Hollow, Chef G type beat. And I think our world's going to be different from now on. We lived our lives one way, but once we hear this beat, I think we're going to be living our lives a completely different way. Our understanding of the world is going to be completely changed after we hear this beat. So let's go, Dogger Beats. do a smooth fade there. I'm pretty sure I know exactly where that beat's going. A lot of people are saying the world has not changed after that beat. That remains to be seen. We'll see maybe in a couple years' time something completely different is going to happen in our world because of that beat. You don't know yet. Nonetheless, I think with the beat itself, to me this seems, I'm not sure how long this person's been making beats. I would say that the main loop itself, the sound that was chosen, I liked. I just felt like it didn't take up enough space in the beat. So what I would have done is maybe throw in a little bit of effects on top to have it fill up a little bit more space in the beat, just because the main loop as it was, it just wasn't as complete sounding. And a lot of beats do get away with just having one instrument play the exact same thing over and over again. They do so by just having that sound fill up a little bit more room in the beat. So throwing on like a reverb or a delay or a creative effect might have helped you out there. I did a video on the top 5 effects that I like to use whenever I want my beats to sound a little bit more professional. And in that video, I showcase a lot of the different things that you could use to achieve this type of effect. So I think that might be... Is my mic on? It is on. So I think that might be a good idea. I probably would say to work on the arrangement itself. It did get a little bit repetitive. You did a good job of trying to add a little bit more extra layers into the beat, which I applaud you for. Again, I'm going to make the assumption here that the beat maker here hasn't been doing it for too long. So I don't want to grill them on their, I guess, arranging, just because that can be an entirely different thing, a different skill set to work on. That's, in my opinion, a little bit more secondary when you're first starting out, to just figuring out how to get your main loop to be a little bit better. So I think I'm going to work under the assumption that this producer hasn't been making beats for that long, and I'm not going to dock them points for... Oh, there we go. He's in the chat. I've only been making beats for a month and a half. So yeah, I'm not going to dock points for like variation within the arrangement, because you at least did try. You did try to add the vocal sample on top as well as that additional synth on top. I would say though, just make sure you have the core loop good. Make sure the core loop that you hear is as convincing as possible and that sounds as good to you as possible before you start to move on to learning how to arrange. Because like I said in a video that I didn't even put out yet, that if you have a loop that doesn't sound as good for the 3 seconds that it lasts, chances are if you make it 3 minutes long for an entire beat, it's not going to improve no matter what additional textures you throw in. So for Dogger Beats, he's only been making beats for a month and a half. I think it's a good start. You definitely do have the fundamentals down for the type of beat you're trying to make here. It did feel to me like a drill type of beat. I would say just to play around with the elements that you had here. He's asked, how was the mix? Like I said, I think taking that main loop and having it fill up a little bit more space in the beat would have been helpful in terms of the overall mix. The other elements in the beat, it would be hard to judge them just because in comparison to that main element, they did sound prominent and really straight forward and up front in the beat. But how that would change if you started playing around with that loop might be different. So I think, yeah, that's what I would say for that beat. We will move on to a little beat. What, someone put Roger Rabbit? I'm not listening to that. It's Daffy Duck. He's the superior bird of cartoon. Let's listen to Damon. This is a very demonic name, very spooky, in accordance to Halloween, even though it is over. Let me know how your Halloween was, by the way. Who had the craziest costume? Put your costume in the chat, and we'll see whoever had the wackiest costume. Maybe they'll get their beat played. I don't know. I probably won't even see it in the chat, so I don't know why I'm offering up these promises that I won't be able to hold up. So scratch that. Moving on, Damon, he's got this beat called The Beginning. a trap, hip hop, dark piano beat. So I think we're all gonna soil ourselves and be scared after we hear this beat. So put your diaper on and let's take a listen. All right, that was Damon's beat, the beginning. A lot of people in the chat were saying that they weren't scared. I did soil myself, but that's not because I was scared. I just drank this whole mug of water, and I need to go to the washroom soon, so we might wrap up soon here, guys. My main takeaway from this beat, I think a lot of people are talking about the mix and how the snare wasn't really standing out, or maybe it was standing out too much. There was a sort of balance issue here overall. I think a few things that I'll say. One of the things I really did like is the textures were really unique. I really love the sounds that were used in this beat. Just I couldn't really put my finger on what the instruments really were, and whenever that happens, I really love that. Really cool sounds in here. The structuring was also nice, a good amount of variation. You kept the beat constantly moving to the point where I didn't really feel like I was bored ever. I think what was missing, is my mic on? It is on. I think what was missing though was a couple things here. The space in terms of the frequency wasn't filled up entirely. It did feel like a lot of the high end was missing here. The hi-hats that should have taken up that frequency were very, very low in the mix. So if that's going to be the case, some of the other instruments need to do the heavy lifting, but with what you did with the instrumentation here, a lot of them did fill up the sort of low end and the mid lows and the mids. Nothing was really sitting on the high end, and so it did really feel like there was a gap missing there. Iswho Beats is really on point here. Asking me to play your beats over and over again will just do the opposite effect, guys. So just hang out. I can't listen to everyone's beats. That's just the way it is. In terms of the space, in terms of the depth of the beat, that's also something that was sort of missing. Again, that video is probably going to come out in December. I did a video that sort of talks about this idea. It's something that I talk about probably at least once every stream. You do want a good sort of shorthand framework that you can use when it comes to depth, which is how far back in the beat should certain sounds sit and how you should play around with reverb and delay, and in terms of where it should sit overall, in terms of whether something's really front facing, like right in your face, or maybe in the background. Using a sort of 3-frame approach is a good idea, where you have a something in the foreground, the middle ground, and the background. That's just sort of what you can use as a basic framework, a basic approach to adding depth in the beat. Here, I felt like every single thing in this beat was really sort of closer to the front. The drums were very dry, which isn't a bad thing. That's where you sort of want your drums, but the other instrumentation didn't really feel like it sat enough far back where it contributed to the beat and created a sort of 3-dimensionality. It sort of did feel a little bit two-dimensional in that regard, where even the main loop was sort of dry and didn't really have anything that was pushing itself back, and there was nothing way back in the background. It was a very somewhat flat type of beat. And so yeah, I think those two concepts in mind, in terms of the spaces that you need to fill, not only in terms of the frequency as well as the depth, might have helped this beat feel a little bit more full and really bring the core idea to life. I end up just spitting all over my keyboard, so that's disgusting. Yeah, listen to Grout. If I don't bully people, how are they supposed to improve? That's the way I work. I'm like a drill sergeant. We're gonna do one last beat here, guys. I gotta cut it short. This is gonna be 2 hours that we're coming up on, and I need to go to the washroom, and I haven't eaten lunch yet. So my insides are going crazy right now. So thank you guys for showing up. Then we're gonna do another one in 2 weeks, I think. I'm gonna go back to the regular schedule. I'm gonna be releasing another video next Sunday. Like I said, we got some good stuff coming up, guys. We got some good videos. Catch the Wave says, I look like I know how to cook some real good food. That's one of the videos that's coming up, guys. I'm gonna do tutorials on cooking food. I'm just horsing around. We got some good videos coming up in November, I think. I'm going to do some weird stuff, some stuff that you've never seen. Like I said, I made a video where I've never seen a beat making video like this. And I'm pretty sure it's not going to get much views. But nonetheless, it's the artiste in me. I need to do these weird things every once in a while. So we'll see how that goes. And yes, Jay Rios, the next beat review will be in 2 weeks. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you to Grout for showing up. He's always an immense help. He wrote his SATs recently, so let's all hope and pray he gets some sweet, sweet marks there. He's a smart guy. I'm pretty sure he did well. Thank you for coming, Kemi, as well. He's ruining his life as we speak coming to these streams because he, unlike Grout, is failing in all of his classes. So it's nice to see that someone is willing to ruin their lives just to watch my streams. So yeah, that's a nice boost to my ego. So the last beat we're going to do here, guys, is a beat here from, you know what, let's listen to Gabby's beat here. Gabby's beat, it's a hurricane banger type of beat, and let's take a listen. And once again, everyone, thank you for coming, and we'll listen to this beat. Can give it a little critique if you'd like, and I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Here's Gabby's beat called Hurricane.
Gabby.
All right, short little beat there by Gabby J. Do you guys remember Gabby J from Punch Out? I'm probably the only old person in here. So I like it's a cool beat. I like the sort of core idea here. Sort of just a straightforward pitch up, pitch down beat. Very aggressive, very in your face. Someone in the chat mentioned that everything was a little bit too aggressive. Some of the sounds need to be tamed. I think one of the things that would have helped is the exact same thing that I mentioned in the last critique, where just giving sounds their own space in terms of where they sit in the foreground, middle ground, background would have helped here. I think some of these sort of smaller sounds in this beat might have served the beat a little better if they were pushed back, and so the beat had a little bit more breathing room. That might have helped Gabby's beat here, but nonetheless, cool beat. Yeah, just think playing around with some of the mixing elements might have helped. A little bit too much distortion for Channel's taste. Yeah, I think maybe reeling that bit back as well might have cleared up a little bit more room, just because there was a lot going on. So yeah, maybe freeing up some space with reducing that distortion might have helped as well. That would have been a good idea. Glass Joe equals Punch Out. There you go. He's got the reference. So again, thank you guys for coming. Thank you for showing up. Next time we will probably do the same time as before, 4 p.m. So 3 hours into the future from now. I just want to try something different here for the UK people. But we'll go back to the regular schedule in 2 weeks. Thank you to everyone for coming. You're all lovely people. I would kiss you all on the lips if I could. But unfortunately, I would go to jail, probably. So yeah, I'll see you guys in 2 weeks, hopefully. We got some good stuff coming in the month of November. And stay healthy, stay fit, have fun. Give your mother a kiss. And I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.